It's day 26 of our Lent readings for 2021, and continuing the prophets of the Old Testament, we're in the book of Ezekiel today. Now we've had two of the four major prophets. There's four major prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel and Daniel. The first two we've had the last 2 days, both ministered leading up to the exile. These two that we're going to now, Ezekiel today, Daniel tomorrow, both ministered from exile. They were both in Babylon. Ezekiel was taken into captivity into Babylon, and it was while he was there that he received his call to be a prophet. Now Ezekiel was a very dramatic prophet. He gives big dramatic imagery into his prophecies, often acting them out. He gives 4 major prophecies, there's 12 symbolic acts, and then there's 5 what we might term messages given as parables. And he includes more dates than any of the other books. It means we can precisely date a lot of what happened in the book of Ezekiel, to the point where we know his ministry lasted 22 years. He was married, though in chapter 24 his wife dies, he becomes a widower. He also shows a great deal of knowledge, a broad knowledge of historical events, political events, literature, even at one point shipbuilding. So he was a man with a broad knowledge, and he comes from a priestly family, and it probably explains why so much of what he says is in imagery that relates to the temple and to the rituals. When it comes to this, the layout of the book, it's in 3 sections and follows a similar pattern to Isaiah and Jeremiah, and later Zephaniah as well, in that it starts off talking about the judgment, why exile has happened. It then, Ezekiel goes on to talk about the judgment on other nations. The other nations were also judged for their wickedness, and some of them for their gloating. And then the last section is about the restoration after the exile. From Ezekiel's point of view, he sees it all in terms of holiness. God had called a holy people to worship in a holy temple in a holy land, but they defiled themselves. They'd become unclean, and so God has removed them from the land until their time of cleansing is complete, and then he will restore them again. The passage I want to read, that well-known passage from chapter 37, which talks about the dry bones. And what this passage is really about is the restoration of Israel after the captivity. So Ezekiel 37 from verse 1. The hand of the Lord was on me, and he brought me out by the Spirit of the Lord and set me in the middle of a valley. It was full of bones. He led me back and forth among them, and I saw a great many bones on the floor of the valley, bones that were very dry. He asked me, Son of man, can these bones live? I said, Sovereign Lord, only you alone know. Then he said to me, Prophesy to these bones, and say to them, Dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the Sovereign Lord says to these bones. I will make breath enter you, and you will come to life. I will attach tendons to you, and make flesh come over you, and cover you with skin. I will put breath in you, and you will come to life. Then you will know that I am the Lord. So I prophesied, and as I was commanded, and as I was prophesying, there was a noise, a rattling sound, and the bones came together, bone to bone. I looked, and tendons and flesh appeared on them, and skin covered them, but there was no breath in them. Then he said to me, Prophesy to the breath, prophesy, Son of man, and say to it, This is what the Sovereign Lord says, Come, breath, from the 4 winds, and breathe into these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath entered them, and they came to life and stood up on their feet, a vast army. Then he said to me, Son of man, these bones are the people of Israel. They say, our bones are dried up, and our hope is gone. We are cut off. Therefore prophesy to them. This is what the sovereign Lord says. My people, I am going to open your graves and bring you up from them. I will bring you back to the land of Israel. Then you, my people, will know that I am the Lord, when I open your graves and bring you up from them. I will put my spirit in you, and you will live, and I will settle you in your own land. Then you will know that I, the Lord, have spoken, and I have done it, declares the Lord. That talks of the restoration of the people of Israel after the exile. And maybe there's a picture there of the restoration, the second restoration of Israel in May 1948, when the state of Israel came about, to everyone's surprise again. Over this last year, our church buildings have been empty. Maybe there's a picture here of what the Lord will do now, as he restores his people back to his buildings, as he fills them afresh with his Spirit, as we enter a new phase of the story of the church. Come, Lord Jesus, breathe your Spirit again. Till next time, have a blessed day.